And it hurt. Like it hurt, and I could feel my
Yes.
blisters like filling up again and then
Yes.
popping. And that was the most painful, is like it feels like acid in your feet.
Yes.
But after that, I don't know, there was just something that came over me and I was like, I made it. I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then what helped me, kind of what you were saying, was walking with other people who are hurting.
Yes.
And I remember catching up to a few others and I could see like, oh, they're struggling. It was like, hey, I get it. I get it.
Oh.
Like, and I was just right there, and it wasn't, there was not a lot of like verbal communication.
Right.
But it's like, I get it.
Remember, Dr. Jamie Seaman said, Dr. Fit and Fabulous said, what you put out into the world comes into existence.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to tell people, I hurt, my back hurts, this hurts, guess what?
That's all
3
you're
people
focusing
next to
on.
you will hurt.
Yeah.
Everyone will hurt and say, yeah, I hurt too. Shut your mouth, put one foot in front of the other.
Connecting the dots, connecting his guests to the world, creating more connections. Welcome to The Connection. Meet your host, author, coach, Air Force veteran, Jay Miralles.
I'm so excited today to introduce my guest, and you know, The Connection is all about creating connections. The more connections, the better. Connecting yourself to the world, connecting yourself to community. Today I have Gina Rhue. I had the pleasure of meeting Gina a couple years back, right? Or a year back.
A year ago.
A year ago.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't know you, you didn't know me. What I love about today is we're not over-prepared. I had not spoken with you directly since last year's mission, and then maybe another media event we had a couple weeks back.
Yep.
So what we have today is unscripted. But Gina, if you'll just introduce yourself of who are you, what do you do, and you know, just top superficial that everyone should know.
Yeah, totally. Well, thanks for having me.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
And as a side note, it's very hot out here.
The worst day. And since you started talking, the breeze is coming up. It's cooling it off.
Thank you, Lord. This is nice.
Yes.
We love the breeze.
It's only 109.
Only 109. It feels great out here, guys. Anyways, yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
And like Jay said, this is very unscripted. So we just decided, hey, let's get together and chat. And
You're like,
I
we're
love it.
podcasting today, I guess then.
I was like, oh, okay, we're doing a podcast. Cool.
Let's not waste
So,
it on conversation. We're
let's
just
not
going
waste it,
to
yeah.
capture everything.
I love it. So yeah, my name is Gina. I was a first-time walker last year.
Yes.
And that's how you and I connected. But I love that you shared a little bit with me about like what the podcast is about, because
Yes.
I love to relate to people the typical questions, what do you do? And it's like,
Yes.
yeah, we all have a job, but that's
Yes.
not what defines us.
Right.
So,
Who are you?
yeah, like who are you? So
Yeah.
I am in sales full time. I work for a packaging company. So
Yes, you sell empty boxes.
I literally sell empty boxes. It's I get two reactions when I tell people that. Either one, they're like, that's really interesting, or two, it's like crickets and they don't know what to say and they just walk away. So
Right.
it's quite interesting. It's a fascinating world. And I wouldn't say that's my passion. Like empty boxes are not my passion.
Understood.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But I actually I'm doing my own podcast, and
Yes,
I would
yes.
love to own my own business and company one day, and actually be a speaker and share my story, because it's definitely one that, it's been a long journey to get where I'm at here today, and I know that there's a lot of people who can relate to what I've been through. So, it's just been really neat. So
I
that
love-
was very high level, but
No, but that
we'll
is
go
very,
deeper.
yeah, and we will. And let's
Yeah.
stay right there. So, Gina, last year, did you have the ambitions of being a speaker? Did you have the ambitions of owning your business? Or, you know, where were you at last year, this time?
It's a good question. Last year, this time, I did not have the ambition. I didn't have the vision yet.
Okay, you didn't have the vision.
I didn't have the vision. I knew I wanted to do something.
Right.
And I had always known, like, okay, I want to own a business or something to that nature, but I didn't know what it looked like. And so it was just really kind of a process of trial and error. I tried a few different things and even talked with different friends on, hey, what if we teamed up and we did this? And little by little, it just kind of like doors were closed. Like, okay, that's not really going to be it. And as
Fair.
those doors closed, I feel like other ones started to open. And I had a lot of people say to me, very random people would come up and be like, do you know, like, you're very gifted in how you speak. You should be a speaker. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't think about that. And then I would have more and more people tell me that. And then more and more people would say like, hey, I relate to your story in this way. So it kind of birthed out of something very organic of just like starting to open up and be vulnerable with people, and it was
True.
resonating. And so, and I love sharing my story because there's hope in it.
I think because, so a lot of us get put through a test. Then usually there's the grind and then there's testimony.
Yeah.
Right?
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah,
I like
but
that.
most of us fail at the grind and they just hold on to the hurt
Yeah.
and they never get to their testimony.
Yeah.
Because they still want to hold on to the hurt and they still, but even those who made it through the storm and who are like, I'm better now, don't have the gift of transferring that energy or transferring the blessing of that testimony.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that have triumphed beyond you and I, tenfold,
Yeah.
right? But they just don't have the gift or the heart or maybe the desire. I don't know, whatever the reason is, there's no testimony for them. They completed.
Yeah.
Love the motorcycles here at Tahoe Park. But yeah, hello. Hello. But you do, and this is speaking to your soul now. And so fast forward to today.
Yeah.
Manifest. What does it look like now? What oh, hey Jay, I'm doing a speaking gig next week. What does that look like if you were to tell me?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I
you're
love
manifesting,
that.
right?
Yeah, I love it. I love that
let's
vision.
play this out.
Yeah, that vision casting.
Yes.
I would say it's going to look different for each, I guess, each opportunity.
Yep.
I don't despise the small beginnings at all. And
Sure.
so whether
Sure.
that's like speaking to a women's group, awesome, or speaking on a big stage somewhere.
Yeah.
But I would say my goal, my ultimate vision would be able to speak to not just like church groups, because that's one segment of people, right?
Yes, yes.
I would love to even go into like the corporate world, to go into the secular world
Yep.
and be like, hey, no, this is stuff happens, and
Yes.
and here's how you come out on the other side. And one thing I love about is sharing our stories is that every time we share something like a little bit different version of it, and
Yeah.
someone can pick out something different every time. So even though they may not, like I've listened to speakers before, I don't relate to every detail of their story.
No.
Right? But I'm like, oh yeah, that resonated with me. So I think as far as like, what does that look like? I think it'd be awesome to be on a big stage, but that's
Yes.
not really the heartbeat really behind it, is like,
Right.
as long as I get to connect with
Yes,
people and impact
absolutely.
lives, that to me is what matters more.
It's harder
So-
to speak to 12 than it is to 1200, I promise you. And
Yeah.
you've probably felt it and
Yeah.
witnessed it or seen it.
Yeah.
So let's go through this. You hard time, right? Every story or every good speaker has a story. It's not just a lesson on here's how to be a better salesperson. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you need to tell the story. The story needs to have the struggle. It needs to have a hero.
Yeah.
It needs to have the enemy. It needs to have the struggle and then the triumph, right? So I want to talk about the struggle, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk about the 50-mile march. I want to talk about, oh my gosh, why is Gina falling apart? Wait, what's happening here? And why is she showing her tears? And everyone does it for a different reason, right? And is she hurt physically? Is she hurt mentally? Like, I remember seeing you cry. I was like, okay, I love watching the emotion. I don't love watching people cry,
Yeah, you don't like people
No,
in
in
pain,
pain.
and hurting. Yeah.
but I love when some pain emerges.
Yeah.
Because you got to deal with it, right? And if it's okay with you, I'd like to just jump into what was your journey or challenge at the time of the march?
Yeah. Well, I will get into that in a second. I want to touch on something you just said, because you said I love watching the emotion,
Yeah.
right? And that you don't shy away from that. Like, you're not uncomfortable
Not at
uncomfortable
all.
with it. And it's so interesting, and something I've learned through my own struggles is that those who've touched their own pain
Yes.
can be with others in their pain. And
100%.
like, it used to scare me to see people get really upset,
Right.
or angry or sad or frustrated. Like, it would really scare me because I didn't know how to deal with it. And now that I've dealt with my own emotions, and I don't classify emotions as good or bad, they're just big. Like, we can have big emotions sometimes.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
And with that, I don't mean to jump onto your idea, but I'll tell you this. When people say, oh my God, I saw him crying, I saw her crying, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. It makes me uncomfortable. It does make people uncomfortable. Think of a widow
Yeah.
right? Man or
Yeah.
woman who has lost someone, they're crying. You don't know what
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
But just be there.
Just be there.
Just be there. Just be.
Right.
Right? And you don't have to solve anything, but I remember the moment I saw you crying. You were on a anti-gravity chair. And I didn't
Like a
know
stretcher.
you. Like a
It felt
stretcher.
like a stretcher. I'm just kidding.
You were leaned back.
Yeah.
Your feet were like destroyed. I thought it was your feet. Lindsay and a couple other people were speaking life into you. They were telling you like things maybe you didn't want to hear at the time.
Yeah.
But you had to let it out. And I remember just going like, almost like if I had popcorn, I'd be, but I'm saying like, I remember watching that.
Yeah.
And someone captured, Jerry Teeter captured that photo.
Yeah.
I was there. I saw it. Take us back to that moment.
Yeah, that was a cool moment. I mean, looking back, it was a cool moment.
It was a transformational
Yeah,
moment.
in the moment, I didn't want to be there.
No.
So we'd been walking through the night. So it was the Hy-Vee stop. So it was 9 a.m. I remember that.
That's about
Vividly.
30.
We're
Sorry,
38
that's
miles
38
in.
miles in. Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Who's counting?
I know my details.
Who's
Who's
counting? You are.
I was counting. 38 miles in, Jay. And so I remember previously, because this was my first walk, and I remember everyone saying like, okay, the hardest point is Lenoma. Like you get to Lenoma and you're
yes.
gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And we got to Lenoma and I was like, I feel good. I was like,
Right.
sweet. I'm good.
Got it.
And I think after we left Lenoma, I know that was the longest stretch. I think it was 12 miles
Yes.
from Lenoma to Hy-Vee.
Yes. It was a very hard
Yeah.
stretch because of the hills.
Yeah.
Because of all the other, and the sun just emerging and all that stuff.
Yeah. So, and I did not know the course really. I intentionally did not study it because I didn't want, I didn't want to know where I was on the course because then I would be thinking like, okay, I have 9 miles left or
Yes.
3 miles left. I just wanted to keep walking. You know, like sometimes oblivion is bliss. And I was
Yes.
like, in this case, I was like, I don't want to know my mile markers. I just want to know, like, just keep walking and we're going to get to the next stop. So
Absolutely.
I had no clue. We had 12 miles. I had no clue. And I was like, sweet, here's the outlets. Awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
Yay. Oh my gosh, we still had so far to go. But it wasn't really until we passed the outlets. I think we were on just like a gradual incline. And my feet just really started to hurt. But that wasn't really what triggered it. I think it was just the exhaustion coupled with like, I think it was just like the emotions of hitting me of like why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Like that really just started to get like in my heart and in my mind of why we were doing this. And
Yeah.
because that's the part where it was so uncomfortable.
Right.
And I was like, this is no longer like a fun Instagram worthy like thing I'm doing. I was like, holy buckets. This is the real deal. And I think at that point I was just emotionally, I wouldn't say worn down, but just my guard was down.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I wouldn't say I wear my emotions on my sleeve, but I don't shy away from them.
Right.
So it was just kind of a really impactful moment. And I was talking with my friend Megan. We're walking with one another,
Yes.
and I just started crying. Like
While you were walking.
While I was walking, like just kind of
Yes.
silently, like
Before Hy-Vee.
before Hy-Vee.
Yes.
And tears just started like falling down my face, and I was like, I don't know why, but I was like, I'm not going to judge myself on why I'm crying. It just was like all the emotion was hitting me of like what was happening. And then I would say probably 3 miles later was when my feet really started to hurt. Really started to hurt. Blisters had formed. They were reforming and popping and reforming
Yes.
and popping. Like it was bad.
Yeah.
And I do remember this. Megan, we had just met a few hours prior. We became
Which is crazy to me. I thought
Yeah.
you guys were friends
No.
because of the Marcheses already.
No, we became besties between like midnight and 6 a.m. It was awesome.
And I love that about
Yeah.
the community part, but keep going.
Oh yeah. And so we had shared enough with each other. Like she just knew in that moment, like I needed to be spoken into.
Yeah.
And she's like, I need you to walk a little bit faster to mention Lindy.
Yeah.
Because Lindy had a speaker on her backpack.
Right.
And so Megan grabbed her phone and played a song. And she's like, the song is for you. And it was literally about how God walks with us through the
Yes,
storms. And I was just like, ah,
He's walking with me
walking
right
with me.
now. Yeah,
And just everything that I had been through the last few years of my life. Like it was just all very like, it was a very
Symbolic?
symbolic moment.
Yeah.
But then we get to Hy-Vee, and honestly I don't remember a whole lot from that point to Hy-Vee because it was just like one foot in front of the other. But I remember getting there and they took my shoes off. I could hardly get to my chair. And Jamie came and took my shoes off, and she was just straightforward with me, like, your feet are in bad shape, but we're going to get you taken care of. And I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
okay, all right.
Right.
And they were just stinging, like peeling the socks off. I mean, it was just,
yeah.
it was bad.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. It was probably some of the most intense pain I've ever felt. Like, not to scare people away, but it was.
It is. I want to scare people
Yeah.
away. Hey,
Like,
if you're having a doubt, don't do it. Right? If you're
it's
scared,
intense.
don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're scared, push yourself through it. But if you don't want to push yourself, that's okay too.
Yeah.
But do you realize, you know what, did you ever hear me say, even during the qualifier or any trainings, me saying, you'll find 90% of yourself? Have you ever heard me say that before?
Oh, yeah.
I want people to realize what that means. Most of us, or most people who have a job, they clock in, they clock out, they make a paycheck to pay their bills, to go to sleep, to go to the job, to clock in, clock out, to pay their bills. That's 50% of life.
Yeah.
Okay, you're making a living, good. And then there's the 70% who maybe they go to the gym, they're better, they're improving themselves, they're trying to be 1% better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Then there's people who are crazy, who are stunt people, enthusiasts, right? They're rock climbers, they are Mount Everest people. Now, I'm never going to compare what we do as what we do at Mount Everest, but I can assure you this. What we do, Gina, is someone's Mount Everest.
That's good.
Right? For some
Yeah.
people, it's put your shoes on and go to work. That's Mount Everest for them,
Yeah.
But for me, when I say, Gina, you're going to find 90% of yourself on this march.
Yeah.
You found yourself.
Oh, yeah.
The truth,
Oh, yeah.
the self, the hurt, the pain, and sometimes pain from the past comes out. Were you experiencing anything in your life that you just either had to make a decision to say, I just need closure to this, I need to be stronger than this, or did you give into it and say, this is hurting me even more?
In that moment?
In that moment, or yeah.
I think it was, honestly, for me in that moment, it was more just the emotion came up, and
Yeah.
because of everything I'd been through, I was comfortable letting my emotions out.
Which
and
is
I
awesome.
did not care who saw. I was
Yeah.
like, I really don't care.
Yeah.
And I was weeping. Like, I mean, I was wailing. Like,
I saw it.
Yeah.
Because Lindsay
it was
at one point was like, go ahead and cry it out. But be done after this, right?
I don't even know what anyone said to me. I was just in my own world. I have no clue.
And then what's funny is, someone told me, like, look at her now. We are taking off and you were almost just fine. I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. It was probably the most intense 30 minutes of just mental fortitude of like, okay, I need to figure out what I'm doing. Because at that point, and I remember telling people right after this, like, I wasn't crying because I was thinking about quitting. I was crying because I knew I wasn't going to quit
Yes.
and how much it was going to freaking hurt the next
Yes.
12 miles.
Yes.
And I was like, if I don't cry now, I'm just going to cry the next 12 miles. So I'm just going to get it out of the way. Literally, that was my thought. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I just got to get it out of my system. Like, you know, when you feel stuff welling up inside of you?
Yes.
And you're like, it's right there. It's right there. And we shove it back down. I
All
was
day.
like, I'm letting it out because it's going to be bad.
And that
if I
causes
don't.
disease too. It
It
causes
does.
strain.
It does.
It causes depression. It causes
Yep.
a whole mess of things. And
Yep.
sometimes society teaches people, like, you got to buck up.
Yeah.
You got to grind and hustle.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, when I feel like crying, I'll cry.
Uh-huh.
Right? I don't cry just to cry, though. I'm not Tammy Faye Bakering it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like, oh, join me in this quest. Like,
Yeah.
it comes at the most random times.
Mm-hmm.
For me, last time it was, shoot, I'm trying to think because it's almost different every time. Oh, yes. It was coming into Cabela's. So leaving Hy-Vee, coming into Cabela's. I was like, oh, this is cool, man. And I remember Jardine.
Yeah.
Jardine was,
Oh, yeah.
he was hurting.
Ryan was hurting.
Yes, he was. I was like, but as
was in
long as I
bad
was
shape.
pushing him, I was
Yeah.
good. When they took him and it was like the last 100 yards, I started,
Really?
yes. And I had my sunglasses on and you can tell if I was sweating or crying until my nose started running. And Becky says, what's wrong? I said, oh, it's just, but I feel pain letting go. So when people are at 90% of their life, 100% is death, by the way. I mean, when you feel life at 100%, you die. at 90%, you're just on that edge of like
Yeah.
Everest or
It
38
is.
miles in,
It
right?
is, yeah.
And that's when you get squeezed and all
And you
the,
find out what's actually inside.
yes, and the authenticity comes out. Are you a schmuck? Do you hate people? Who are you? Under 90%, people will find out who you
Yeah.
are. And that's what
Yeah.
I believe.
And I remember Zach, so he was our platoon leader
Yes,
at
Zach Grady.
yeah. We'll call him Slim Grady.
Slim Grady.
He raps all the
I
time.
love
like
it. I
Slim
love
Shady,
it.
Slim Grady.
Yes.
There's a video from Iceland if you ever want to see it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Anyways, he had a speech, so our next stop was TAC 88.
Yeah.
And that was a long freaking walk
Yeah, it
from
was.
High V to TAC 88. And I think that's where most people really started to feel it. That
Oh, yeah.
was a long stretch.
Yeah, it was.
Even though it was only 3 miles.
But it was still hot. That's when the sun started coming
Yeah,
out.
it was hot.
Yeah.
And he gave us a David Goggins speech at TAC 88. And
Yeah,
it was
I
all
heard about
yeah,
that.
and it was all about like when you reach this level, you've only reached 50% of actually your true potential.
Yes.
And he pointed to me and he's like, Gina's already touched it. And I was like, I have? I was like, I don't know. I was like, touch what? What did I do? But honestly, it was like after I left Hy-Vee, I remember leaving that parking lot and it hurt like hell getting my shoes back on. But I had people on either side of me and they literally
Yes.
walked me to the start line. And then, I mean, you know how it is. It's not like you start racing off the start line.
No,
It was
no.
a very slow start. Like,
No, because your body feels like it has rigor mortis.
Yes.
And you got to get it fired up again.
Yes.
I mean, have you seen me on the 40th mile?
Oh,
I'm holding onto the RV handles just to stand up. Sorry, I didn't
yeah,
mean to interrupt.
no, it's true though. So like, it's like, oh, the start line. Like, it is not a fast start. It's
No.
just a very slow. We're gonna start moving back into it, and it hurt. Like it hurt, and I could feel
Yes.
my blisters like filling up again and then
Yes.
popping, and that was the most painful. Is like it feels like acid in your feet.
Yes.
But after that, I don't know. There was just something that came over me, and I was like, I made it. I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then what helped me, kind of what you were saying, was walking with other people who were hurting.
Yes.
And I remember catching up to a few others, and I could see like, oh, they're struggling. It was like, hey, I get it. I get it.
Oh,
Like, and I was just right there, and it wasn't, there was not a lot of like verbal communication.
right.
But it's like, I get it.
Remember, Dr. Jamie Seaman said, Dr. Fit and Fabulous said, what you put out into the world comes into existence. If you're going to tell people, I hurt, my back hurts, this hurts, guess what?
That's all
3
you're
people
focusing
next to
on.
you will hurt.
Yeah.
Everyone will hurt and say, yeah, I hurt too. Shut your mouth, put one foot in front of the other. Now, when you say your feet feel like acid, that's funny because I describe it that same way.
Yeah.
People are like, I'm a bodybuilder, I'm a CrossFitter.
That's great. I'm a CrossFitter too. I've never felt pain like that before.
Because your body
Oh,
still want to
man.
do things.
Yeah.
But imagine like your feet, like, you know, when soldiers get captured, part of the torture is like back in the day is when their feet used to get freaking whacked
Oh, my
by
gosh.
whips and everything like that. Can you imagine?
No, I can't.
It's
No, I
just
can't.
it's just the rawest form of punishment. So
Yeah.
here you are, your body wants to move, and your feet are like, no,
No, thank
we ain't
you.
going nowhere.
Yeah. And it's, yeah, so that's interesting about the, you know, just being with people in their pain.
Yeah.
And it literally was something where, you know, I kind of view it as, I think there's a fine line of it, not admitting, but like acknowledging, like, yeah, I hurt. And it's not but, it's and I'm going to keep going.
Yes.
And I think for me, that's been the most helpful of like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to pretend that my blisters aren't there. They are. They
Absolutely.
hurt. And I remember just talking with people and being like, yeah, I'm hurting too. And we're going to finish this together.
Hell yes.
Like, we're going to finish this together. And that was just kind of this like unspoken, from there on out, it was just this unspoken honor, dignity, like respect that we just
Yes.
had with fellow walkers of like, we've made it this far, we're freaking finishing this.
Honor, dignity, respect, rite of passage.
Yeah.
We did it. You did it. Hey, Gina, have you run into any 50 milers or people wearing the shirt at all after the march?
Yeah, I've run into a couple. Well, I wasn't wearing mine, but
Sure,
they were
sure.
wearing theirs.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like this like nod of like, hey,
Sup?
like you're in that 1%.
Yes.
It is like
Yes.
you're my people. It self-selects for a lot of people.
Oh my God.
And I'll be honest, I'm scared for this year. Like I'm terrified because I'm like, I don't want to go back to that place. Like I don't
Right.
want to go back to it. So it's
I mean, this will be your 100th mile.
yeah.
right? So think about
Mm-hmm.
that. How many people even wanted to do this once?
Yeah, I didn't want to. Like, I got peer pressured into it.
FOMO'd.
It was FOMO'd. Freaking Marqueses are the best at that. They are responsible for a whole platoon of people that they FOMO'd.
I know.
And we were all just cursing their names. Like, what did you guys get us into?
oh my gosh. It'll be
Yeah.
150 for them this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And Matt politely told me the very first time, nah, dude, I'm out. Thanks, bro.
Sounds just like him.
Hey, we'll support you. We'll help you raise funds. But me and
We're
Lindsay,
out.
we're out.
We're out.
I just want to be real, bro. That's like, yeah, Matt, appreciate it. Thank you. And, you know, I even saw him at Iowa Fieldhouse one time and like, hey, man, hey, I'm telling you, Jay, we support you. We love you, but we're out. And then Zach Grady got back into it and he was a catalyst. But anyway, this is not about them. This is about you. I'm grateful to them to have met you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You heard of this march the very first time through Marquesas. What was your conception? What was your preconceived notion? How did the conversation go?
Oh, I'll tell you. I was watching Lindy's live feed from the year before.
Okay, so you just saw her.
I was watching her do this crazy 50-mile march, and I was like, you guys are insane. But that tracks. Like, Marquesas do a lot of insane things.
Yes.
Love you guys. And
Yes, they do.
you guys do a lot of crazy things.
More crazy things.
Yes, love them. That's part of the reason why I love them. So I was like, that tracks. Like, they're just doing something crazy. That makes sense. And Lindy said afterwards, she's like, that was the worst 22 hours of my life. And I was like, I believe it, girl. That looks awful.
Yes.
And she called me like 3 months later, maybe texted me, I don't know, whatever. And she's like, hey, we're doing this 50-mile march again next year. And my first response was, wasn't that the worst 22 hours of your life? And she's like, yeah, but it was so great.
Oh my God.
I'm like, wait, you said it was awful and you're doing it again? And she just said, like, it's the most unexplainable experience. And it's true. I get that now. I get that. I can't explain it to people. But anyways, a few months went by and it was kind of radio silent. And I hadn't personally committed. And so I was like, I'll slide under the radar.
Right.
Like, I'm not doing this. And then Tasha texted me like, hey, you coming to the qualifier? And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, you're coming to the qualifier, right? And I was like, no, we did not. We had this like vow that like we would either not do it together or do it. And she's like, I'm doing it. I was like, come on, no, this is dumb.
You guys didn't communicate with me. I wasn't in the loop.
I was not a part of this. And so the next thing I know, I'm showing up for a 15-mile march in the middle of June last year at Flanagan because it was the last qualifier.
The last qualifier.
Yeah.
So you did the second one, not the large group one.
I didn't do the one in April or March when it was raining and all that stuff. I did not do that one. I did the really hot one at Flanagan. And I was like, and I remember after we did 3 5-mile loops.
Yes.
And after 2, I was like, surely this is enough. Surely they'll call it because this is dumb.
Yeah,
and
we don't need to do anymore.
We don't need to do another 5 miles to prove that we're in. Like, we did 10, and then we took off for another 5, and I was like, oh my God, this is the worst ever. Right. But I will say I'm very glad we did 15 because at mile 12 or 13 was when I first started to get hot spots. And that's why I believe that's part of the reason you do the qualifier that way is because if people haven't walked that far, like you don't know your hot spots.
No.
And you do not want to find them out.
No, not on the march. And that's what I get scared. So just last weekend or yesterday, they did a 10-miler at Nebraska Brewing Company.
Yeah.
And out of the 30 people, there are probably 3 or 4 that were like, oh, not ready. You can't walk your dog and be ready.
No.
You've got to ruck.
Yeah.
You have to ruck. You know, now fast forward, you know, you talked about the pain. What are some of the things that people should be thinking about when it comes to preparing mentally first? I was
going to say, I think mental preparation is probably the utmost importance. I think for me, it was just the mental prep of like, this is going to be uncomfortable. And I have to be comfortable being very uncomfortable.
Right.
For an extended period of time. Sleep really wasn't that big of a deal. I thought it was going to be.
Right.
But you're just on so much adrenaline.
Yes.
And you're with people and like, I wouldn't have slept a minute even if
Right.
I had the opportunity.
Right. Absolutely.
I think you're just on adrenaline, and your breaks go by so fast. So
Oh my gosh.
the breaks are like, get your shoes off, get water, go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
eat, try to get your feet elevated, and then it's like, time to go.
Yeah.
So I don't know when people would sleep. I didn't sleep at all. I think the mental preparation, again, of just like knowing this is going to be really uncomfortable.
Oh my God.
Like,
You're
that's
scaring me now. It
yeah.
is going to be.
But it is. It's going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to make it. I think that was the other piece of it. And
Yes.
that was something that Marchese's, we're picking on them, but I'm going to
Yes.
give them a
Yeah,
good shout out.
absolutely.
They were like, you're going to make it. Like, you're going to finish. And I was
Yes.
like, no, I'm not. I'm like, yes, you are. You're going to finish. And there was never a doubt of like, they didn't let me think I was not going to finish this.
Right.
And so that was in the back of my brain of like, yeah, you're right. I know I can do this.
Yes.
Even though I don't want to, and it's going to suck and it's
Yeah.
going to hurt. I know I'm going to be okay. Might walk away with a few blisters. But
Right. Or worse.
Or
I mean, some
what?
people got shin splints. Some people had to. I was in crutches for a week and a half after last time. And then the week before, I didn't even know I was going to walk. I don't know if you
That's
came
right,
to
your
the,
hip.
yeah, my both. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
we were
oh
praying
my
over
God.
you
I
right
know.
before, yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You were the first person that came up to me and said, hey, can I pray for you?
yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I started crying.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
And
I was so happy to see you at the walk because we still didn't know like that day. You were still TBD. Like, I don't know.
100%. I was recovering like an NFL tight end. I was on the protocol. Anyway, Jamie had me on some crazy regimen, right? But it
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah.
Because the Friday night before, I almost was like, okay, I have to give
Yeah.
my speech that all good leaders have to get out of the way. I was going to bed thinking, okay, I've got to let go of control. It's okay, Jay, you've done this. I did everything I could to make me feel comfortable about not following through on my commitment. And I was going to be good with it. And I knew some people were going to judge, but I staged myself for that. I woke up that Saturday and I remember just having peace over me and saying,
Good.
I can do this.
I love that.
It's going to hurt. I probably am going, but once I get my hip moving, once I stand up straight, I just need somebody to help pick me up.
Yeah.
And on the 20th mile, I broke down.
Really?
People were in the camper. And that was Baker's Candy, right? Yeah, Baker's Candies. Hey, you need anything, Jay? No, I'm good. I'm good. People using the RV bathroom, stinking it up, right? I'm like, oh my God. And Chris was like, hey, you sure? I said, I'm good. I said, hey, can you get everybody out? Just for a second. Just ask everyone to leave. He goes, what? I said, just ask everyone to leave the camper just for a second. Call my wife in here. I need to talk to her. Is everything okay? I said, yeah, everything's okay. I just need to talk to Becky real quick. 5 minutes. Close the door. I freaking broke down.
I did not know
And I was
this.
like, I can't let people see me. I said, God, I need the strength right now. My hip, like, you know, I wasn't asking or negotiating or anything. I was just like, please give me the strength to continue.
Yeah.
Becky came in and she said, listen, you started this. You could have bowed out in the beginning or something like that. You know, you got this. Give yourself the peptide shot, which she did, right? I'm like, oh, give me the peptide shot. I knowing that it didn't do anything for you that second, and she's like rubbing my hip, and I'm like, okay. But what people were doing to you, my wife did for me.
Yeah.
Just believing
So
in me.
powerful. Yeah.
Say you're gonna finish.
Yeah.
You're not gonna. I'm gonna finish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't mean to play it like that. I'm just saying it's real. So someone is preparing right now for the 50-mile march, and they're listening. What advice would you give for them physically? Like, people always ask, how often should I train? What do I do? I know that everyone's different.
Oh, yeah.
But what's some general rules of thumb?
Man, you got to find your hot spots.
Yes.
It's like
Define
number
hot
one.
spots for people who
Yeah,
don't know.
hot spots would be like the places on your feet that you're going to get the most friction in your
Yes.
shoes.
Yes.
I would say get good shoes. That's like, you can go with everything else.
Yes.
Without everything else, you need socks and shoes. Like,
yes.
everything else will be provided. It's fine. I overpacked last year, by the way. So yeah, way overpacked.
Beach towel.
Yeah, all the things. I used none of it. I would say, yeah, find your hot spots, and the only way you do that is rucking.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to.
Right. If
Yeah.
people, I made a post about this the other day. If you practice consistency over intensity, you're not going to be surprised.
Yeah.
Only rookies will be surprised. Now, what
Yeah.
does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm not telling people to go 10 miles a day, 5 days a week. I'm saying be consistent. So for me,
Yeah.
I'll share with you, then maybe you can share with me what your tempo is. I'm 5 miles Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 3.4 to 3.6 miles per hour with 30 pounds in my back.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
Consistent. And then every now and then I'll find a bonus day to do 10 miles. And that's the time for me. That's the time for by myself. That's the time for me not to have any pressure. Where's the hot spots? Are these shoes, are my laces feeling funny? Oh, maybe
Yeah.
I should try these socks because last time, all those things.
Yep.
What's your physical training? Or, I mean, I know
Yeah.
you stay fit. So tell me all the things you do
Yeah.
to keep you fit.
Well, in full disclosure, I have not been rucking. I need to. So I need.
We're 60 days out.
I know. I need to start it.
Yes.
Consistency. I need to start it.
You're welcome to join us Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
I actually really need to. So
Yes.
that's a kick in the pants to me.
Yeah.
I go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. So
Yeah.
I lift weights, but
Yep.
that's whether I'm not doing the walk. I do that anyways.
Yes.
And I actually do walk a lot. I do walk my dog.
Yes,
But that
yes.
is not training.
Right.
It's just not the same amount of training.
Right.
Last year when I would walk her, I actually just put my vest on.
Oh, yeah.
And we average about 5 miles a day, but that is broken up because especially now it's so hot. So she can't go, my dog just can't go 5 miles.
But you still have a vest on with
Yeah.
the weight.
Yep.
But when you ruck the 50 miles, you don't have
You
any
don't
weight.
have it, yeah.
So you're preparing yourself with a load.
With a load, yeah.
Some people are just
Yeah.
not, and I'm not I'm saying, how critical is it for you to prepare and walk? Like,
Now that I've done it,
Yeah.
way more. Like last year, I did have that thought of like, I'm fit, I'm physically fit, I know I can walk, I'll be good. And then I realized at like mile 35 to 38, like, oh geez, like, yeah, you can't prepare. There is an element though, I will say you just can't prepare for. The unknowns. Like
True.
you can do all the preparation and there will still be unknowns. And then that's when that mental preparation overtakes. Like
Yes.
whatever that physical lacks, because at that point it's like, here we are and we're going and I'm going to do the best with what I have.
right.
So, but last year I did 2 pairs of shoes. So I alternated at every stop.
Oh, okay. So they felt fresh.
Yeah. So I had 2 pairs of Brooks. I'm a Brooks girl, so
Hey,
I
I
don't know,
love
like 'em.
Brooks.
Yeah.
What's up?
I
Ghost
actually got
15s.
Asics this year.
What?
Yeah.
You broke the mold.
I did. But I had 2 pairs of Brooks. I had the Adrenaline and the, I don't know, GTS or
Yeah.
something. I don't know.
Sure.
But they were just different enough to where one had a little wider toe box and one was narrow. So it just gave like, and my idea behind that was like, okay, I'm going to give my feet a break every time
Yes.
and mix it up so that they're not rubbing the exact same spot over and over and over again. So
See, in my mind, I was like, she's crazy to be switching shoes. But I get it.
I liked it. And then I
get it.
realized, and now this year I actually sized up a size.
Because they swell.
Because your feet swell so much. And that's, like they swell so much. And so I did size up half a size. And then everyone swears by toe socks, but they don't work for me.
So you're not a toe sock gal.
do
I'm a
not
toe
work for
sock
me.
dude. Oh my God.
And I need to find out something to do with my pinky toe. Because that's
Okay.
like anatomically, my pinky toe just
Understood.
goes underneath.
Underneath. So does mine, right?
Yeah. What do you
so,
do? 'Cause
Toe
I-
socks. I know it sounds crazy, but
does
you
help.
can't wear toe socks alone. Are you only wearing toe socks alone?
What do you
So you
mean
gotta
alone?
put the toe sock, and then you gotta put a sock that is either wool blend, non-cotton,
Oh, I
like
didn't
a
know
little bit
that.
of cotton. Okay, so here's why.
I didn't know that.
So your
Okay.
feet are like this. They're splayed is what the socks do.
Yeah.
And then you put that other sock around it. So remember, the friction happens when the friction causes the heat when
Yeah.
your feet rub. But your feet can't rub if your toes are like this, and then you have another layer. You could literally try to drag your foot on the floor and try to create
I
heat,
need to
and it
try
won't
that.
work.
But
Try
not
it.
cotton.
Just as the least cotton blend you can. So if you have cotton/wool,
Yeah.
that will keep them super dry.
Okay.
I also put, so like
And
when we stop.
I did the salty britches too.
Oh yeah, that helps too. So for other
Lube 'em
people,
up.
yes,
Yeah.
people were like, "Oh, that's so weird." No,
No,
it works.
you want
it's
that.
either powder or
Yeah.
lube, right? One of the two. Lube. That's so funny.
It's gross, but,
But it works. So
I need to try that then.
try it,
Okay.
and now is the time to try it, right?
Yeah.
Like, especially for the little toe.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of Dr. Soul's on just because I don't want any moisture. Moisture is the enemy.
It is.
Once
Yep.
your feet get soft from that excess moisture,
Yep.
you're done.
You're done.
I mean,
no matter
you're
what,
done.
you can be the
Yeah.
toughest dude.
Yeah. Oh, and there
like,
were.
Oh man. You see grown men just brought to their knees because you get a blister and
Oh
it's
yeah.
no joke.
I mean, Jardine's foot, Ryan's foot,
it was so
half of it
bad.
fell off.
was
Like,
so
yeah.
bad.
So the first year Timothy Sons was with us, the whole sole of his foot slid off. I know, sorry about that. I know. No pictures, don't worry. But I remember him taking off his, and I was like, oh my God, what's that? I thought it was jelly. Sorry.
That's disgusting.
I thought it was jelly, but it was the bottom of his sole stuck to his
All of a
sock, and
sudden,
he
I don't
pulled
have
it
an
off.
appetite.
Sorry.
Thanks,
Well,
Jay.
yeah. Hey, wait. Watch
Do the 50
this.
mile march.
Yeah, exactly. Are you sure it's good for
Oh
you?
my gosh.
I want to talk to you as a person now.
Yeah.
You as Gina.
Yeah.
Gina, the why, right? So you weren't in the military,
Nope.
you know, and we talked about this, and you know, beyond the physical challenge, beyond the, you know, testing yourself, what does it mean to you to participate, and why do you participate?
Yeah, that was something that, again, I said FOMO was why I did it last year.
Yeah. That's
And
part
so
of it.
there was FOMO. That's full transparency.
Yes.
So I don't have, like Jay said, I don't have military background. I have never served in the military. I grew up in a military town in Colorado
Yes.
Springs.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just grew up with that reverence and that respect for our military, and lots of friends and family in the
Yes.
military. So that was just kind of like my upbringing. So I have been always exposed to that world and just what they put themselves through.
Yes.
And my undergrad is, or was, I should say, pre-med and psychology.
Okay.
And so I remember learning, I took an abnormal psych class, and I thought PTSD was actually one of the most interesting
Yeah.
mental disorders.
Absolutely.
Because of how it can impact people, and like the broad array of who it can impact. Like anyone from a
Anyone.
CEO to like a veteran, like an all
Yes.
in between.
Yes.
And just, I mean, mental health doesn't discriminate anyways.
Right.
But I just found this one particularly interesting. And then you think of like PTSD in the form of trauma. Like it doesn't have to
Any
be
trauma.
on any trauma. It
It
doesn't
could be
have to be on
sexual
the front
trauma.
lines.
It could
Yeah.
be battery. It could be
Yeah.
a bad experience. I mean, people who get robbed, people
Yeah.
who are put under intense pressure without notice. That's
Yeah.
how I kind of look at it. It's an
Yeah,
injury.
it is.
It's an injury.
Yeah. And I just think of how, I don't know, I think of just like how alone I felt for so long in my journey of like, no one's actually seeing what's happening all around me. And
Yeah.
wishing I had someone to just come along and be like, this is not normal. Like,
Right.
this is not normal. And I didn't have PTSD. I do now for some things.
Yes,
And I'm
yes.
working through that.
Yeah.
I'm in therapy and
Yep.
all sorts of things. But yeah, I think that was more like, dang, these veterans really don't have the help they need. And they're also so highly trained, and there is that like pride and that honor of like,
yes.
well, if I admit that I, struggle with this, I now am seen as weak.
Yes. Or, you know, we could have lost our job. So
Yeah.
if I would have told my commander or my
Yeah.
first sergeant,
Yeah.
hey, I'm feeling a little depressed. I'm feeling blue. Boom. Top secret security clearance
Done.
gone.
Right.
Access to everything gone. Pretty much you couldn't
Yeah.
do anything. And you were on suicide watch.
Yeah. And you just
And-
learn to shove it down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you didn't want to lose your job. You didn't want to go, hey, see that guy right over there? He got all his stripes ripped off. He's on suicide watch.
Yeah.
Like, who wants
Yeah.
to be labeled that?
No one does. I wouldn't want that.
That's
And that's almost an impossible situation to be put in,
it. It's a conditioning to say, you shut your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you like working at the store? Whatever, right? There's
Yeah.
that shut your mouth. You like working in the store?
Yeah.
Shut your mouth and sweep the floors. That's one thing.
Yeah.
You like working here? I don't care about your mental health. You say anything, you'll be worth nothing.
Yeah.
That's the condition, the response, and the outcome.
Yeah.
And then we taught ourselves, ooh, we better not ask for anything. So
Yeah.
when we get out, Gina,
Yeah.
but you, on the other hand, now knowing how important it is for help. Did you get help with are you getting
Oh,
help
yeah.
with?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Talk to a person now who's listening and they're a veteran. Tell them how important or how okay it is
Mm-hmm.
to not be okay.
I would say this. I would say the best healing happens in community. Like it really does. Like healing happens in community. Trauma happens in community.
Sure does.
And healing happens in community.
Dang,
And
that's a
like,
mic drop right there.
okay, we're done. Just kidding.
Yes.
No, but in all seriousness, that is, I think, shame, depression, isolation.
Yes.
I'm sorry, all of that stuff is causing you to go into isolation.
Yes.
And that's what the enemy wants. Like the enemy wants you silent.
Yeah.
And the enemy wants you in the dark.
Absolutely.
And I think the best way to fight that in my life, and I've seen it in others, is let people into your mess.
Yes.
Let people into your mess.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah.
Let people into your mess.
Yeah.
Tell people what that means. Let them into your mess.
Let them in. Like, it's okay to let people, like, see people, let them see you cry. Let them see you upset.
Yeah.
Let them see you just like literally in your mess. Like, house is a disaster. What, like, you're falling apart mentally. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
And now I will say this, like, as a caveat, it's not just like you're going to let some rando at the grocery store line.
No.
It's these trusted friends and family that you're letting in.
Right.
You're not pushing them away. Like, I'm fine. Everything's good. It's all good. Da-da-da. Like, put on a good face.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
no, there's times when it's okay to just be like, yeah, this is a really freaking hard day.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
And just letting them in.
Help me through today.
Just help me through today. And I'll tell you one of the most powerful stories that happened to me personally. So obviously, you know, I went through a divorce.
Yes.
And this was pretty soon after I had found out about like all the affairs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I had ripped up every photo.
Yeah.
Like every photo in the house. And I was just a mess. Like, I mean, every emotion from rage to anger to sadness to betrayal, like just the entire spectrum. And I was, if there was a camera, like I probably would be locked up in a psych ward right now because people would be like, what is happening to this chick? Yeah. Anyways, I was just going crazy and just screaming and like pounding the floor, and I was just so mad and like letting that get out of my system. And I didn't know one of my friends was coming over, and because she just wanted to pop in and check on me, and she came in and saw just like pictures everywhere, and I was on the floor just like rocking, and I was literally a mess, like a mess. And she just came in, took her shoes off. She didn't say anything, and she just held me.
Yeah.
And we just bawled together.
Yeah.
She didn't say a word. And that was the most powerful moment, or one of the most powerful moments, because she didn't know what to say, but there was nothing to say.
She was just there for you.
She was just there. And then little by little, she like got up and she put everything into trash bags, and she took it out and put it in her own trash so I didn't have to see it.
Yeah.
We exchanged maybe 3 words. But that, like, to this day, I was like, that was one of the most powerful examples of, like, letting, not only, it was twofold. I had to let her in, but she just was there.
Yeah.
And she wasn't trying to fix it. She wasn't trying to say, like, it's okay, it's going to get better, it won't always be this way. Like, you know, these little one-liners. She was just like, this is so hard. And I was like, yeah. It was amazing.
Not everyone has a friend like that.
Yeah.
And not people have friends like that they don't let in.
Yeah.
So when you say let people into your mess, I think it's more than just saying I need help. Mm-hmm. Let them into the mess. Let them see the real you.
Yeah.
When someone says, Gina, are you okay? There are people who are like, oh my God, and they throw themselves in front of the bus, right? Like, I don't even want to quantify that. I don't want to demonize people who do that, but to be able to say, hey, I really need your help. Mm-hmm. I just need your help to get through today. I need your help.
Yeah.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
I don't need you to solve anything. I just need you to listen.
I just need you to listen.
That's harder than hell to say, though.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say this, that when you are that person of like asking for help, number one, that's terrifying because you're fearing rejection. You're fearing they're going to be like, no, I don't have time or whatever. Mm-hmm. I would bet, I'm not a betting woman, but if I was, I would venture to say 99% of the time, people are going to jump at the opportunity to help. Jump at the opportunity.
We all want to serve each other, right? Some people are going to help you the right way.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's trial and error. But Gina, I wanted people to know who you are because you're not some superhero that wants to be a motivational speaker that is involved with the 50-mile march.
Right.
You are a real person. Mm-hmm. You are you unapologetically. You are authentic. You bring a different perspective. You have your views. I love your faith. Mm-hmm. I love that you let it pour into other people without being that bullhorn. Everybody, kneel down. You know, like, but you know, oh my gosh, the hardest part for me. Remember when we were laying on the Capitol steps for 22 minutes? That's
powerful. Yeah.
And we're on cement, and I think we were 20 minutes in. I was like, though I walk through the shadow valley of death,
yes,
I fear no evil. Like, that was our passage.
So good.
That was the passage, right?
Good.
And the valley of death is 50 miles long for us today.
It's a long valley. It's a very dark valley.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could picture
Yeah.
the start, the
Oh,
valley,
gosh.
and then the climb out, literally the climb out.
Is the friggin' worst part.
Yes, that's the last
The valley's great. We're going downhill. It's fine.
Yes,
it's
the climb out.
No, I'm kidding. I'm not trying to make light of it. But yes,
But-
it's very symbolic, and that metaphor is, yes, very real.
It is because
Very, very
the
real.
last hill to Nebraska Brewing Company is literally, I think that's a 9-degree or 10-degree incline, whatever
and
that is.
it feels like you're going straight up.
Straight
hill.
up.
Yeah.
But you're just like listening to the end. And you know, I mean, those are details that people can experience with us. Gina, to wrap this up, to make, you know, next few minutes, what do you want to share? Perhaps I may not have asked, or what are some of the things that you want people to know about Gina, about you?
Good question.
Yes, it is
Great
a good question.
I would say a little bit to tag on to you. Like there's not a specific set of circumstances that makes me better than anyone else.
Right.
Or different or more qualified to do this. Like I wouldn't say normal. I think we all are very unique, but
Yes.
yeah, I'm a person living my life, and this just was part of it. And I've learned so many lessons through the 50-mile march.
You have. Good.
So many lessons through it. And yeah, I would just say, like, my story isn't over.
No, this is
which
beginning.
is so cool. Yeah.
And
it's
you're in
so cool.
control of the chapters.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
I understand what you've been through before, right? I've been there before too.
Mm-hmm.
And you as a person, what I want people to know is, I love that you're so non-prepped. Not talking prepared. I'm talking like raw, authentic you.
Mm-hmm.
You bring an energy about you that just makes people go, oh, it's Gina. The effect that you had on Jerry Teeter, the effect that you had on those camera guys, at our last media shoot, you know, with you, I saw some of the footage. I was like, oh my God. There's something to you, and I'm not trying to place you on a pedestal, that brings something to our community.
Thank
And
you.
You're welcome, but it's not like capability.
Mm-hmm.
It's not ability. It's reality. You're a real person. You just, you know, people think 50-mile march, they got to be special operators, veterans, and we got to wear 90-pound packs. Like,
Nope.
and I want people to never, and I know that you don't. People should never apologize or say, hey, I never served, or I'm sorry. Do you now feel more connected to the military community than ever?
Oh, heck yeah. And I get the camaraderie, like, on a whole new level. Like,
I mean, it's
I
cool,
get it.
isn't
Yeah.
it?
And that's the other thing about community is, like, yeah, stuff happens in community, trauma happens and pain happens in community, and so much healing happens in that. And I think, I mean, I look at the people I walked with last year, I would do anything for them.
Right.
Like, anything for them. And
Right.
I know vice versa. I could pick up the phone at any moment and be like, hey, I need help with this and this, or I'm struggling with this, and like, boom, they'd be there. So,
And you don't know everything about me,
Right.
right? Like we're not best of friends,
right.
but I believe we're comrades. I believe
Yep.
that we've been through the rite of passage. I believe we have similar core values.
Right.
Every time I talk to you, it's easy to speak, right? It's not like, and how was your day, Gina? Like that's
Yeah.
so, I'm still that way with some people, but
Yeah.
I think you want to let people in,
Yeah.
you know, and when people like you join our organization, it creates even more credibility for what we're doing.
Oh, I love that.
I mean
you.
that. Yeah, you're
Thank you.
welcome. And I'm just so grateful.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for you.
Thank you. I'm grateful for what you guys have started too. This is a whole movement, and it's so cool.
Yes, it's the movement.
It's so cool.
It
yeah.
is. Well,
And I want to say one more thing.
yeah,
too, about just
land
like,
it, land it, and
I'll
mic drop
try
it.
to land it.
Yes,
but
yes.
I will say this, like, thank you for the compliments on just like being authentic. And I will say I haven't always been that way. I lived much of my
Sure.
life as like a perfectionist
Mm-hmm.
and just wanting to make sure, like, as long as everything looks good on the outside, ain't nobody got to see what's happening on the inside.
Absolutely.
And there was always this disconnect of not living a congruent life. And the more I've leaned into just being vulnerable and being like, this is me, and being okay knowing that I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea,
Right.
and they're not going to be my cup of tea,
Right.
and that's okay.
Yes.
And it's like, it gives me so much freedom.
Yes.
And that's what I think most everybody is after, is freedom. And it's like, when you
Yes.
just show up and be yourself, like, just know not everyone's going to like you.
It takes
Totally
less
okay.
calories to live that way.
It does, yeah.
I
It's
mean-
wonderful. And there's just so much freedom in it. And I think that's a big reason why I want to share, is like, I want people to experience that freedom. But it starts with being vulnerable.
Absolutely.
It does. And that's the scariest part. And I think to our veterans and to those who want and need help, like, the first and most scary part is being vulnerable. After that, you're going to have people around you locking arms and, like, literally pulling you through. Like,
And that's what life symbolically is supposed to be about.
Yes.
This thing parallels so many things in life. It teaches me lessons every day. It keeps me going. This keeps me honest in all other parts of my life, right? I mean,
So good.
I can't be a 50 Mile March founder and live foul, right? And also, you taught me something today. You don't have to be on.
Yeah.
You don't have to be on. And I hear that all the time, but I see people say it. I hear them like, well, the house is messy. Don't let people over. I get that part. You know, you don't want to see them midweek into your house,
Yeah.
but at the same time, let people into your mess. Be who you are. And Gina, I just want to thank you for being here today. And I want this to continue for another 2 hours, but
So
that
good.
time you do not have.
Yes, and it's a little hot.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
It's a little
the worst day. So, I mean, perfect backdrop. We're here at Tahazuka Park
Yeah.
in Elkhorn, and this is the tank behind it, and this is the story.
It's
This
great.
is the story we share.
Love it.
Thank you so much.
So good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.